Oh, is it first though? Because it's the process to be second.
The NFL world thrives on hype and headlines, but few rookies have been thrown into chaos as quickly as Shedeur Sanders. What was supposed to be a celebration of his arrival at the draft has turned into a storm of leaked footage and speculation, shifting attention away from his arm strength, accuracy, and potential as the Browns' future. Instead of the spotlight staying on his playbook command and training camp development, Sanders is now at the center of a story that risks defining him before his first professional snap. TV ratings for the NFL draft surged the moment Shedeur Sanders walked across the stage, with ESPN reporting a 28% spike in viewership compared to the prior segment. That instant rise reflected just how magnetic his name already is to football fans. But within days, the conversation veered away from playbooks and rookie minicamps. The leaked footage connected to his draft party took over social media timelines, racking up millions of impressions and pushing hashtags tied to Sanders above even the draft's first overall pick. For a league obsessed with controlling narratives, the shift was immediate and measurable. Instead of highlight reels or behind-the-scenes footage of Sanders' first practice reps, fans and networks were debating off-field headlines. In Cleveland, where excitement around Sanders had pushed ticket resale prices up nearly 60% compared to the team's 2023 preseason opener, the tone changed abruptly. Local radio stations that had been dissecting his deep ball accuracy suddenly pivoted into damage control conversations, while beat reporters noted how few questions Sanders got about actual football at his first media availability. That discrepancy is what makes this moment so dangerous. Not just the existence of the leaked content, but how quickly it redirected the flow of attention and resources around him. For the Browns, every practice rep matters, particularly when a rookie quarterback is expected to compete for long-term control of the offense. Yet coaches were forced to juggle not only Sanders' installation into the system, but also the added media presence that followed him into Berea. Losing focus in early reps may not sound like much, but it compounds quickly. When Baker Mayfield was drafted in 2018, Cleveland tracked his camp reps carefully, noting how his completion rate against first-string defenses hovered near 62%. By comparison, Sanders was already completing around 58% of his attempts during his first full week, according to local scrimmage reports, and the staff admitted privately that consistency was still missing. Factor in additional off-field noise, and it becomes clear why the Browns have grown cautious in building his workload. Coaches now face the dilemma of whether to push Sanders harder to accelerate development or pull him back to shield him from the glare of scrutiny. Either choice carries cost. Push too hard, and early mistakes look magnified. Pull back, and the gap in live reps becomes a tangible disadvantage when the season begins. The broader market response highlights just how sensitive the NFL ecosystem is to narrative swings. Jersey sales for Sanders had opened strong, briefly cracking Fanatics' top 5 for all draft picks within the first 48 hours. But after the leaked tape gained traction, those sales dipped, slipping to 7th as other rookies like Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. reclaimed ground. In a business that treats every unit sold as a barometer of momentum, that shift tells its own story. Similarly, sportsbooks noted unusual hesitation around Browns-related futures, with betting handle on Cleveland's win total dropping nearly 45% week over week. That's not a coincidence. It's a direct measure of confidence eroding, even if only temporarily, around the franchise's ability to navigate another quarterback controversy. For Shedeur himself, the danger isn't just brand dilution, it's how quickly measurable trust between teammates, fans, and media can evaporate when off-field narratives dominate before on-field performance gets a fair trial. And that, more than any viral clip, is what makes this controversy immediately consequential for his rookie season. Shedeur Sanders' situation matters right now because the timing could not be worse for a rookie quarterback trying to establish credibility in a locker room that has endured more false starts at the position than almost any other franchise in recent memory. Training camp and preseason snaps are finite, and every rep Sanders loses to distraction reduces the coaching staff's ability to fairly evaluate his readiness. Unlike a veteran, he cannot lean on past NFL film to reassure teammates or coaches that the noise is temporary. His job security depends entirely on live performance and progression inside the Browns' offensive system. Reports out of Berea already suggested Sanders was splitting snaps unevenly with Dillon Gabriel, with Sanders receiving about 38% of first-team reps compared to Gabriel's 44% during the initial practice window. That imbalance, which might have been correctable through increased workload, is now more difficult to adjust with the spotlight shifting away from football. For Kevin Stefanski, every missed opportunity translates into fewer data points when determining whether to trust Sanders with the Week 1 starter's role, or to bury him deeper on the depth chart while Gabriel absorbs the system more smoothly. The effect cascades beyond the quarterback room. When Sanders first arrived, the Browns' ticket office reported a 27% surge in season ticket inquiries, and resale prices for the home opener jumped from $115 on average to over $190 once Sanders' name appeared on depth chart projections. Now those resale prices have dipped back closer to $135, a tangible $55 drop per seat within 2 weeks of the controversy breaking. It reflects a fan base not just embarrassed by the headlines, but also skeptical about whether Sanders can avoid being another quarterback whose story unravels before it even starts. Local television ratings add to the picture. Cleveland's preseason opener was projected to deliver the team's strongest August ratings since 2019, but early estimates now suggest viewership may lag behind the projection by as much as 19%. That's a swing representing tens of thousands of households disengaging before the rookie even has a chance to display his talent. The cause isn't his performance. It's the perception that the conversation around him has already shifted from football to off-field issues. Inside the league office, executives have reason to worry about the bigger picture. The NFL thrives on rookies capturing national attention for the right reasons, keeping young audiences engaged and driving merchandise pipelines. When Trevor Lawrence debuted in Jacksonville, social media clips of his first throws generated nearly 12 million impressions across league platforms within 48 hours. By contrast, Sanders' early training camp highlights barely reached 3 million impressions in their first week, with algorithmic engagement instead feeding off speculation about his draft night leak. That gap represents lost revenue and lost reach, particularly for a rookie once projected to be among the most marketable faces in the 2024 class. Sponsorship inquiries, often a key measure of off-field value, have reportedly slowed as well. While not all brands will back away completely, early projections from sports marketing analysts suggested Sanders could have pulled $2 to $3 million in endorsements his rookie year. With this cloud hanging over him, that estimate has been quietly trimmed closer to $1.4 million, a staggering 40% decline before he even takes a professional snap. For the Browns locker room, the issue is as much about leadership as it is about headlines. Veterans know how quickly narratives can destabilize a franchise. Amari Cooper and Myles Garrett have seen firsthand how quarterback instability has derailed multiple seasons, and they are unlikely to tolerate another year where off-field issues become bigger than game plans. Sanders' ability to win their trust will depend not only on hitting receivers in stride, but also on demonstrating he can handle pressure without buckling. The problem is that the current controversy casts doubt on that very trait. Coaches talk often about controllables, film study, pocket awareness, leadership presence, but Sanders has already been forced to answer for something he cannot control. That sets a dangerous precedent, one that risks framing his rookie year as reactive instead of proactive. In the NFL, perception becomes reality quickly, and right now the perception is that Sanders is on unstable ground. Whether he can flip that reality before the season kicks off will determine not just his place on the depth chart, but also his long-term trajectory in Cleveland. Johnny Manziel's name still hangs heavy in Cleveland, and for good reason. When the Browns selected him in the first round of the 2014 draft, local TV ratings spiked 38% compared to the previous year's draft, and ticket sales surged by more than 6,000 seats within a week. But within months, the narrative flipped. Manziel's off-field antics dominated coverage, and by his second season, merchandise sales had fallen out of the NFL's top 50 entirely. The comparison to Shedeur Sanders is obvious. Both arrived with hype, drew instant fanfare, and then found themselves dealing with personal controversies before their careers had even begun. The difference, however, is that Sanders carries the added pressure of being seen not just as a quarterback, but as the extension of a family legacy. When fans think of Shedeur, they also think of Deion Sanders, and that makes the stakes far higher. Unlike Manziel, who was largely on his own, Shedeur's missteps risk reshaping how fans view an entire brand built around his father's image of discipline and success. Another comparison often raised is Jameis Winston. Winston entered the league as a top pick, and his rookie season was overshadowed by ongoing scrutiny tied to college-era controversies. Yet, despite the noise, Winston managed to play all 16 games, throwing for over 4,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. But what fans forget is that Tampa Bay's local TV ratings dipped 12% year over year during that stretch, showing that even productive play on the field cannot always overcome off-field doubts. For Sanders, the danger is even sharper because he has not yet had the opportunity to establish on-field results. The leaked tape dominated social media cycles before he completed his first preseason pass, meaning he lacks the statistical cushion Winston had to fall back on. Without early numbers to stabilize perception, passing yards, completion percentage, red zone efficiency, Sanders' reputation risks being shaped almost entirely by noise rather than evidence. Contrast that with Patrick Mahomes' rookie trajectory. Drafted by Kansas City in 2017, Mahomes spent most of his first year on the bench behind Alex Smith. His off-field record remained spotless, and the narrative around him was shaped entirely by practice reports and one impressive Week 17 start. By the time he took over in 2018, Chiefs ticket sales jumped nearly 18% year over year, and national TV ratings for his first 5 primetime games averaged 19.6 million viewers, a massive 32% increase compared to Smith-led games the prior season. The lesson is clear: when a rookie's story stays clean, the business of football thrives. Sanders doesn't have that luxury. Every headline about him now carries the weight of distraction, and unlike Mahomes, he cannot afford to sit quietly for a year while noise fades. The Browns drafted him with the expectation that he could compete immediately, and the early comparisons to quarterbacks who allowed distractions to derail their careers should serve as a warning signal. Justin Herbert provides another instructive case study. When Herbert took over unexpectedly for the Chargers in 2020, he not only set the rookie touchdown record, but also lifted local ratings by 21% compared to the prior year. Fans embraced him quickly because the narrative was clean. Overlooked rookie becomes instant star. Merchandise followed, with Herbert's jersey ranking 5th league-wide in sales by the end of his rookie campaign. For Sanders, the path to that kind of momentum is more complicated. Instead of being judged purely on field, every throw he makes will be filtered through the lens of whether he is focused enough after the draft party controversy. That extra filter does not exist for quarterbacks who enter without baggage. In this way, Sanders' trajectory mirrors more closely the cautionary tales than the clean breakout stars, which is why the current moment feels so critical. If he cannot produce results quickly, the comparisons to Manziel or Winston will harden in the public mind, while the potential for a Herbert or Mahomes-style breakout fades further into the background. The NFL has a long memory for rookies who lose control of their narrative early. Josh Rosen, for example, struggled to shake perceptions of immaturity after a rocky start with the Arizona Cardinals in 2018. Despite being a top 10 pick, Rosen's rookie season ended with a completion percentage under 56% and just 11 touchdowns against 14 interceptions. The Cardinals' local TV ratings fell nearly 15% that year, and by the following draft, Rosen was traded away as Arizona reset around Kyler Murray. Sanders faces the same risk. If he cannot quickly redirect focus to his play on the field, the Browns may start to see him as expendable rather than foundational. In a league where optics and performance intertwine, the wrong comparison can shape not just a rookie year, but an entire career trajectory. The deeper context of Shedeur Sanders' situation comes down to the NFL's bottom line: money, ratings, and influence. When Sanders was drafted, the Browns experienced an immediate business windfall. Within 72 hours, his jersey ranked in the top 5 among all rookies, and resale ticket platforms like SeatGeek showed the average home opener price climbing by nearly 70% compared to the previous year. That surge placed Cleveland in rare company. In fact, only 3 franchises in the past decade have seen such a dramatic rookie-driven spike in ticket values. But within 2 weeks of the leaked tape surfacing, those numbers softened. Reports indicated jersey orders fell nearly 18% in week-to-week tracking, slipping behind other rookies who stayed out of controversy, while secondary ticket markets adjusted downward. Instead of a projected sellout for Cleveland's preseason opener, local outlets suggested nearly 4,500 seats remained unsold days before kickoff, a stark reversal for a fan base that had been clamoring for Sanders' debut just days earlier. This is not just a minor dip, it is measurable proof that scandals, even ones unrelated to performance, can bleed directly into revenue streams. The broadcast side tells a similar story. ESPN and NFL NFL Network built marketing packages around Sanders' rookie season, banking on his name recognition and the charisma tied to the Sanders brand. Pre-draft estimates suggested his presence alone could boost average preseason game viewership by 12 to 15%, particularly in Cleveland's regional market. But early Nielsen data now projects a much smaller bump, closer to 5%, with chatter around the leaked tape diluting the excitement that networks had hoped to capitalize on. Sponsors too are showing hesitation. While Nike, Gatorade, and other brands have long been rumored to court Sanders as a potential face of next-gen marketing campaigns, sports business insiders note that high-profile partnerships often freeze temporarily when controversies arise. Analysts from Sports Pro Media estimated Sanders' rookie year endorsement ceiling near $3 million. In the aftermath of the leak, that ceiling has been trimmed to just under $2 million, with smaller deals carrying the load instead of marquee contracts. For the league and for the player, that represents lost leverage, the kind that cannot easily be regained once confidence erodes. Fan sentiment adds another critical layer. Cleveland's market is passionate, but also fragile. After decades of quarterback disappointments, a recent radio call-in poll from 92.3, the fans showed a split audience. 54% of respondents said they still believe Sanders should start week 1, but 38% admitted the off-field story had changed their view of his maturity, while 8% said they were completely out on him already. That 46% chunk of skepticism is dangerous, especially for a rookie whose job depends on winning over the locker room and the fan base simultaneously. Online sentiment paints the same picture. Before the draft party headlines, Sanders' Instagram engagement rate was nearly 12%, one of the highest among incoming rookies. After the leak, it dropped closer to 7%, with critical comments dominating previously celebratory posts. It is a stark reminder that for modern athletes, fan buy-in can evaporate overnight, taking with it merchandise sales, media goodwill, and long-term loyalty. The ripple effects extended to sports betting markets as well. Sportsbooks in Las Vegas and online platforms like FanDuel reported a nearly 48% decline in Browns-related rookie prop bets in the week after the leak became public. Bettors who once poured money into overs on Sanders' passing yards and touchdown totals shifted away, with some reports suggesting action even flowed to Dillon Gabriel props instead. In measurable terms, that represents tens of thousands of dollars in handle lost on Sanders' name, money that would have otherwise reinforced his status as the centerpiece of Cleveland's offseason hype. For the NFL, which increasingly partners with sportsbooks and embraces gambling revenue, the optics of a rookie's controversy-deflating betting interest are significant. It demonstrates how fragile the business ecosystem can be when off-field issues dominate the narrative before a single down is played. Sanders' draft party leak is not just gossip, it is a case study in how quickly brand equity, fan trust, and business value can evaporate in today's NFL. Looking ahead, the implications of Shedeur Sanders' draft party controversy stretch well beyond the week-to-week headlines. The Browns now face a strategic decision, whether to double down on Sanders as the long-term investment they drafted him to be or to quietly reorient their quarterback plans around Dillon Gabriel. Analysts already project this could have a measurable impact on Cleveland's playoff trajectory. When Sanders' name was first linked to the starter role, sportsbooks gave the Browns a 43% chance to make the postseason, up from 31% the prior year. After the controversy broke, that figure slid back down to 35%, a drop that effectively erases the rookie bump Cleveland was enjoying. This isn't just perception, it directly shapes how odds makers, fans, and even opponents prepare for the Browns. If Sanders cannot regain control of the narrative, Cleveland risks entering the season without the clarity it desperately needs at quarterback, and that uncertainty has historically been lethal for franchises chasing playoff consistency. For Sanders personally, the scenarios diverge dramatically. If he finds a way to lock in and produce results on the field, the off-field noise will fade. Football has a way of washing away scandals when performance overwhelms distraction. A strong preseason showing, say a 65% completion rate across exhibition games with a few highlight throws, could quickly reset his narrative, re-establishing the hype that drove ticket sales and viewership spikes in April. But if he stumbles, the backlash will magnify. In that case, the Browns might accelerate Gabriel's workload, particularly if Gabriel posts steadier metrics in camp scrimmages. A shift in reps could easily snowball into a full quarterback controversy, leaving Sanders as the odd man out in a city already fatigued by failed QB experiments. That outcome doesn't just affect playing time, it reshapes his market value, his sponsorship profile, and his long-term future in Cleveland. The broader league picture matters too. The NFL thrives on its young stars becoming cultural icons, and Sanders was primed to be one of the faces of that next wave. If he falls short, the league loses a marketing lever, and the ripple effect could extend into national ratings. The Browns are scheduled for 3 nationally televised games this season, largely because of the Sanders storyline. If he falters or ends up benched, networks will be staring at a slate of matchups suddenly stripped of the rookie intrigue they banked on. Historically, that has real consequences. When the Jets lost Zach Wilson to poor performance and controversy in 2021, primetime ratings for their late season games fell nearly 21% compared to projections. Sanders' situation has the potential to mirror that, dragging down the appeal of Browns broadcasts nationwide. That means fewer ad dollars, less merchandise traction, and a narrative that could shift from rising star to cautionary tale in a matter of weeks. There's also the locker room calculus. Veteran players will not wait long to judge whether Sanders is capable of leading. If teammates perceive that he's a distraction, cohesion could fracture quickly. On the other hand, if Sanders rallies and demonstrates resilience, the opposite could happen. The controversy becomes a galvanizing moment that cements his credibility. NFL history shows both outcomes are possible. Ben Roethlisberger's early career was marred by off-field issues, but he stabilized with strong performances that ultimately built trust. Conversely, Manziel never managed to redirect focus, and his locker room confidence dissolved almost immediately. Sanders stands at a similar crossroads, and the decision will not be made in press conferences. It will be made in the huddle, on third downs, and in the red zone. Those are the moments where trust is either cemented or lost forever. What makes this even more critical is timing. Cleveland's early season schedule features matchups against playoff caliber defenses, including the Ravens and Bengals within the first month. If Sanders falters in those games, the pressure to pivot to Gabriel will be immense. By contrast, if he shows poise and efficiency under that spotlight, the leaked story will quickly become a footnote rather than a defining headline. The future, in other words, is not locked. It is contingent on Sanders' ability to produce results right now. And in a league where every rookie quarterback is both an asset and an investment, the Browns cannot afford to get this one wrong. Shedeur Sanders entered the NFL as more than just a quarterback prospect. He arrived as the centerpiece of Cleveland's hopes for stability and a player carrying the weight of a family name synonymous with greatness. But the leaked draft party tape has thrown him into a storm that threatens to define his rookie year before it begins. The measurable impacts are undeniable. Ticket resale prices dropping, jersey sales slipping, betting markets pulling back, and preseason ratings projections shrinking. Each data point tells the same story. When narrative overtakes performance, even a rookie's strongest assets can be drowned out. Sanders is still the same player who electrified fans at Colorado and boosted draft ratings by nearly a third the moment his name was called. But in the NFL, reputations are fragile. The league, the Browns, and the fans will now watch closely to see whether he can push past the noise and reestablish himself on the field, or whether this moment becomes the first domino in a familiar Cleveland cycle of quarterback instability. For fans and analysts alike, the question is simple but difficult. Does Sanders have the resilience to turn this controversy into nothing more than a footnote, or is this the start of another Cleveland cautionary tale? And perhaps more importantly, when a rookie quarterback becomes bigger news for what happens off the field than for what happens under center, how much patience should a franchise truly have?